Port Charles reels as the courtroom becomes a battlefield, and Lulu's Spencer Falconeri suffers two heart-wrenching losses in 1 week. Liesl Albrecht, fiery with grief and vengeance, sets out to bring Lulu to her knees, and she might just succeed. Port Charles had seen its share of tragedy, but the latest events threatened to shatter every fragile alliance and unravel deep-rooted connections. Lulu Falconeri had only recently returned from a coma, trying to reclaim her life piece by piece: motherhood, journalism, family. But peace never lingers long in this town. For weeks, whispers had grown louder. Liesl Albrecht, chief of staff turned vigilante and grieving aunt, was preparing to sue someone, and now the target had a name: Lulu Spencer Falconeri.
But why?
What many didn't know was that Liesl blamed Lulu for a series of cascading tragedies that began with a story Lulu published, an exposé on illegal WSB experiments, the very operation that had nearly killed Britt and left Nathan's son exposed to retaliation. Lulu had meant to do good. She always did. But this time, the consequences were far-reaching. It had started with Britt. She had been recovering in Amsterdam under an assumed identity, working in a small pediatric clinic. Only Liesl, Maxie, and a select few knew where she was, and for good reason. Enemies of the WSB were still hunting her after she exposed a rogue faction years ago. Then came Lulu's article, published in The Invader with the backing of Alexis Davis. While not naming Britt, the details were specific enough to alert anyone tracking the WSB fallout. Within days, Britt's location was compromised. She was injected with a biotoxin while treating a patient, collapsed, and was rushed to intensive care. Liesl made it to her bedside just in time to hear the faintest whisper. Lulu, why? Though Britt survived after intense treatment from a Swiss specialist, she was left with recurring neurological complications, tremors, disorientation, and the inability to hold a scalpel again. Liesl blamed Lulu. Fully.
Completely.
Without remorse. Liesl stood at the courthouse steps, Maxie beside her, press swarming. My daughter may never operate again, Liesl declared. And the recklessness of Lulu Spencer Falconeri is to blame. This suit was public, detailed, and brutal. Emotional distress, defamation, negligence. Liesl hired Martin Gray, ruthless, articulate, and known for tearing reputations to shreds. Lulu was blindsided. Dante had urged her to reconsider publishing the article, and now his face said it all. I told you so. I was doing my job, Lulu insisted. I had no idea Britt was connected. But that wasn't enough in Liesl's eyes. And it wouldn't be enough in court. As the suit gained national attention, tragedy struck. Laura Collins, Lulu's mother, collapsed during a peacekeeping mission in Eastern Europe. Kevin had received a frantic call, a hemorrhagic stroke. Too far from advanced care, too sudden. By the time he reached her bedside, she was gone. The mayor of Port Charles, the unshakable matriarch,
gone.
Lulu was inconsolable. Kevin tried to hold it together, but grief overtook him. Nicholas flew in to help arrange the funeral, while Valentine offered his private jet to bring her remains home. And yet, even at the funeral, reporters asked Lulu about the lawsuit. I just buried my mother, she screamed at one journalist. Have you no soul? Still, the headlines the next day read, Lulu cracks under pressure. Liesl's lawsuit grows teeth. The courtroom overflowed on the first day of trial. Liesl sat with Britt in the gallery, her hand over her daughter's, eyes laser-focused on Lulu. Diane Miller represented Lulu, firing back that freedom of the press was not negotiable. Martin countered with Britt's full medical history, showing how a promising surgeon was now dependent on anti-seizure meds because of an article that should have been redacted. Maxie cried silently in the gallery, torn between best friends and the woman who had saved her child more than once. But Lulu stood her ground, until the prosecution revealed a chilling new detail. Writers at The Invader had been warned by a source that the story might endanger someone, and Lulu ignored it. That source? Valentine Cassadine. I told her the WSB was still active, Valentine testified. I didn't know who was in danger, but I knew someone would be. That betrayal cut deep. Just when Lulu thought things couldn't get worse, Lucky Spencer returned to town, shaken and paranoid. He had uncovered a plot in Ireland involving the same WSB remnants mentioned in Lulu's article. He told Sam and Jason that he feared retaliation. Lulu was thrilled to see him, until his hotel room exploded 2 nights later. Burned beyond recognition, dental records confirmed it was him. 2 relatives. 1 week. Both gone. The emotional dam finally broke. Lulu collapsed in Dante's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Sonny tried to help, quietly paying for private security around Lulu and Rocco, but even he couldn't stop the legal machine from marching forward. Maxie found herself at the center of an impossible situation. She owed her life, and her daughters, to both women. She had to choose a side. Britt, her confidant, needed justice. But Lulu, her sister in spirit, was crumbling under the weight of grief. When Liesl pressured Maxie to testify against Lulu, she hesitated. "Please, Maxie," Liesl pleaded. "Do not betray Britt."
Not now.
Maxie testified, but with one twist. "I believe Lulu made a mistake," she said carefully. "But I don't believe she intended to harm Britt. And I believe she's suffered enough." The courtroom buzzed. Liesl's expression was thunderous. With the case tipping against them, Diane Miller made a last-minute strategic move. She subpoenaed WSB whistleblower agent Nina Beck, the very person who fed Lulu the story. Nina testified that Lulu had specifically asked if any civilians were in danger, and she had reassured her that names were redacted and the operation had been shut down. Diane turned toward the jury. "My client was misled, and now she is burying her mother, her brother, and her career. Haven't we punished her enough?" Martin objected, but the seed had been planted. The jury deliberated for 7 hours. Lulu, silent and pale, held Dante's hand as she stared into the void. Liesl kept her eyes on the door. Britt looked like she was ready to run. The foreperson stood. "We, the jury, find for the plaintiff in the matter of emotional distress, awarding Dr. Britt Westbourne $750,000 in damages. But we do not find Ms. Spencer Falconeri liable for negligence or malice." Half a win, half a loss. Liesl's mouth tightened. It wasn't enough. Lulu whispered to Diane, "I don't have that kind of money." And Diane replied, "That's why we appeal." But Lulu didn't look relieved. She looked hollow. Britt, though victorious in part, felt no joy. She visited Lulu days later, to return a box Lulu had once given her after Nathan's death. Inside was a photo of their makeshift family, Britt, Nathan, Liesl, and Maxie, at a Metro court brunch. "I didn't want this," Britt said, her voice cracking. "But I needed my mother to feel heard." "I understand," Lulu whispered. "I just hope you never know what it's like to lose so much so fast." They hugged, stiff, uncertain. But it was something. Nicholas, shaken by the loss of Lucky and Laura, vowed revenge on those responsible for the explosion. He blamed the WSB, yes, but also Liesl for distracting Lulu during a time when family should have come first. "You chose a lawsuit over unity," Nicholas snapped at her on the docks. "And now my mother is dead." "I chose justice," Liesl replied, unmoved. "You Spencers always think you're above consequence." The Cassidy and Spencer war reignited, but this time, with Britt caught in the middle. Dante watched helplessly as Lulu spiraled. She stopped working, barely ate, stared at photos of Laura and Lucky for hours. "I don't know who I am anymore," she told him. Lulu Spencer was fearless. She'd never let herself fall apart. "She's still in there," Dante whispered. "You just need to let the pain out." It was Rocco who finally broke the silence one night, asking, "Mom, are you going to leave me too?" That shattered Lulu more than anything else. She pulled herself up, not for herself, but for him. Weeks later, Liesl found herself watching a video message Laura had recorded before her mission. "Poor Charles needs healing," Laura said. "We've all made mistakes, but we can't move forward if we keep tearing each other apart." Liesl finally cried. She visited Nathan's grave, placing flowers beside his name. "I don't know if I did the right thing, Nathan," she whispered. "But I did what I thought you and Britt needed." Was it too much? Port Charles honored Laura and Lucky with a memorial at the park. Spencer gave a tearful eulogy. Liz spoke about Lucky's years of sobriety and heart. Valentine stood quietly in the back, holding Charlotte's hand. Lulu sat beside Maxie, who gently took her hand. "We'll survive this," Maxie said.
How?
Lulu asked. "Together," Maxie replied. Liesl eventually dropped the appeal. Britt opened a pediatric practice in Port Charles, with assistance from GH and private donors. Lulu returned to the Invader, but focused on lighter stories, profiles, family, healing. 2 lives lost. 1 family fractured. But out of the ashes, something stronger might rise. Port Charles always finds a way.